The message that would reshape humanity's destiny arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning at the Unified Earth Defense Command, UEDC, headquarters in Geneva. Director Sarah Chen was reviewing routine satellite data when every screen in the command center suddenly flickered with symbols that defied human understanding. "Report," she barked, maintaining her composure despite the unprecedented situation. Her staff scrambled to analyze the incoming transmission that somehow bypassed every security protocol Earth had ever devised. The alien symbols gradually transformed into Earth Standard English, revealing a message that read more like a plea than a warning. To the leadership of Earth, you must remain uninvolved in the coming conflict. Your participation would have unprecedented consequences. Dr. Marcus Rivera, the UEDC's chief xenolinguistics expert, studied the message with growing fascination. "Director, the language pattern suggests extreme anxiety. These beings, whoever they are, didn't just translate their message, they adapted it to our psychological frameworks. They've been studying us." The message continued to unfold across their screens, revealing the existence of the Galactic Concordat, an alliance of 17 spacefaring civilizations that had maintained peace across 3 spiral arms of the Milky Way for over 10,000 years. Now that peace was threatening to unravel as 2 emerging powers, the Symmetrists and the Quantum Collective, edged toward open warfare. "We have contained conflicts for millennia," the message continued. "Your species' involvement would introduce variables our predictive models cannot process. This is not a suggestion. This is a necessity." Director Chen noticed something odd about the phrasing. "Dr. Rivera, they're not threatening us. They're not even ordering us. They're begging." Why would an advanced alien alliance beg? Before Rivera could respond, Lieutenant Commander Aisha Patel, head of strategic analysis, stepped forward. "Director, I believe I know why. Our entire military history is publicly available in our digital archives. Any sufficiently advanced civilization could have accessed it." Chen's eyes widened with understanding. "They've studied our wars." "Not just the wars, Director," Patel continued, pulling up historical data on the main screen. "They've seen how humanity fights, how we adapt, how we turn our enemies' strengths against them, how we win even when outgunned and outmatched." The command center fell silent as implications settled in. These advanced aliens weren't concerned about Earth's primitive technology. They were terrified of humanity's ingenuity, their ability to think outside conventional boundaries, their talent for turning disadvantages into advantages. A second transmission arrived, this one containing detailed star charts showing the positions of the Symmetrist and Quantum Collective forces. The message was clear: stay away from these regions. Do not interfere. Director Chen studied the maps carefully. The conflict zones were deliberately positioned away from Earth's sphere of influence, but something about the arrangement seemed artificial, too perfect. "They're not just warning us," she realized. "They're containing us." As if confirming her suspicion, a final message appeared. "Your species evolves through conflict. You embrace chaos as a catalyst for advancement. This makes you uniquely dangerous in ways you cannot comprehend. Please, for the sake of galactic stability, remain neutral." Chen turned to her senior staff. "They're right about one thing. We don't comprehend our danger to them. But I think it's time we found out. Dr. Rivera, analyze every nuance of these messages. Commander Patel, I want detailed strategic analyses of these star charts. Something tells me this won't be the last we hear from the Concordat." She gazed at the star charts, where 2 massive alien forces were gathering for war, deliberately skirting Earth's region of space. The Concordat feared humanity's involvement, so much they were willing to reveal their existence just to prevent it. That fact alone told her everything she needed to know about humanity's true potential in the galactic arena. "And one more thing," she added, her voice carrying across the now bustling command center. "Contact the Security Council. Tell them that humanity is no longer alone, and we have some decisions to make." As her staff rushed to carry out her orders, Chen couldn't help but smile at the irony. The Concordat's desperate attempt to keep humanity out of the conflict had just guaranteed Earth's involvement. Not because they were warmongers, but because now they knew that humanity possessed something that made even advanced alien civilizations tremble. The question wasn't whether Earth would get involved in the coming galactic war. The question was how they would reshape it when they did. In the 3 weeks following the Concordat's message, the UEDC's underground facility beneath Mount Cheyenne had transformed into a hive of ceaseless activity. Director Chen stood in the newly established Cenological Analysis Chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing thousands of years of human military history, but viewed through an entirely new lens. "Show me the pattern analysis again," she commanded, and Dr. Rivera adjusted the display. Historical battles from throughout human history floated before them, each annotated with probability calculations that seemed impossible at first glance. "That's what makes us different," Rivera explained, highlighting specific battles. The Concordat civilizations evolved through planned advancement. Their wars followed predictable patterns. But humans, he gestured to the Battle of Thermopylae, the American Revolution, the Battle of Britain. We win when we should lose. We survive when we should fall. We advance when we should retreat. Commander Patel stepped forward, adding her own analysis. The Symmetrists and Quantum Collective, despite their apparent differences, both follow rigid tactical doctrines. The Symmetrists believe in perfect geometric formations, attacking in mathematically precise patterns. The Quantum Collective relies on probability manipulation, but even their chaos is predictable within certain parameters. And then there's us, Chen mused, watching as the holographic display shifted to show modern military exercises. Unpredictable, adaptable, and apparently terrifying because of it. A junior analyst rushed into the chamber, clutching a datapad. "Director, we've decoded more of the background data embedded in the Concordat's transmission. You need to see this." The holographic display shifted again, showing detailed analyses of human conflicts, but from the alien perspective. The Concordat had been watching Earth for centuries, documenting every major and minor conflict. What fascinated them wasn't humanity's weapons or technology, but their inexplicable ability to defy statistical probability. "Look at how they categorize us," Rivera pointed out. "They don't see us as primitive. They see us as an probability anomaly, a species that consistently defeats mathematical models of warfare." Chen leaned forward, studying a particular section of alien analysis. "They're not just afraid of our military tactics. They're afraid of how we think." She turned to her team. "What do you see when you look at a locked door?" "An obstacle to overcome," Patel answered immediately. "Exactly. But these civilizations, they see a binary state, locked or unlocked. They don't think about picking the lock, breaking down the door, going through a window, or convincing someone to open it from the other side. Their advancement has paradoxically limited their ability to think creatively." A new alert flashed across the displays. Long-range sensors had detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. The Concordat was establishing a quarantine line, disguised as a protective boundary. "They're not just asking us to stay out of the war," Chen realized. "They're actively trying to contain us, but they're doing it in a way they think we won't notice, or at least won't be offended by." Dr. Rivera pulled up more decoded alien data. "It gets more interesting. The Symmetrists and Quantum Collective. They're the first new powers to emerge in the galaxy in over 5,000 years. The Concordat system worked perfectly until they appeared. Now they're facing something they haven't dealt with in millennia. Change. And then we show up," Patel added, "a species that thrives on change, that turns disadvantages into advantages, that looks at problems from angles they've never considered. We're not just an anomaly. We're their worst nightmare." Chen walked through the holographic displays, watching humanity's history of warfare dance around her. "Have we detected any direct communication between the Symmetrists and Quantum Collective?" "No," Patel answered. "All communication goes through Concordat channels. They're mediating the conflict. Or controlling it, Chen suggested. What if this isn't just about keeping us out of their war? What if they're trying to prevent us from making contact with the only other civilizations that might think differently? The implications hung heavy in the air. The Concordat hadn't survived for 10,000 years by being simple peacekeepers. They had maintained their power by controlling how civilizations interacted, fought, and evolved. Director Rivera said quietly, "There's something else in the decoded data. References to other contained civilizations, species that showed similar probability anomalies to humans. What happened to them? The data is heavily encrypted, but they disappeared. Their conflicts were resolved through Concordat intervention." Chen's expression hardened. So that's the real truth. This isn't about protecting galactic stability. This is about maintaining control. And we're not just a threat to their current crisis. We're a threat to their entire system of order. She turned to her team. New priority. I want direct communication with either the Symmetrists or Quantum Collective, bypassing Concordat channels. If they're trying this hard to keep us apart, I want to know why. As her staff rushed to implement her orders, Shen studied the quarantine line forming at the edge of their solar system. The Concordat thought they were containing a primitive species for its own good. Instead, they had just confirmed humanity's true potential and their own greatest weakness. The game was no longer about staying out of a galactic war. It was about understanding why the most powerful alliance in the galaxy trembled at the thought of humanity's participation. And more importantly, it was about deciding what to do with that knowledge. The UEDC's prototype fabrication facility, hidden within the Australian outback, hummed with activity as Director Chen observed their latest creation. On the surface, it looked like a standard defense satellite, exactly what the Concordat would expect from a primitive civilization. But its true nature was anything but primitive. "Explain it to me again," she said to Dr. Kenzo Tanaka, their head of hybrid technologies. The elderly scientist gestured to the deceptively simple-looking device. "We're calling it the Trojan horse approach," he said, his eyes gleaming with pride. "On the surface, it uses basic radio waves and chemical propulsion, technology the Concordat would expect from us. But inside..." He pressed a sequence on his tablet, and the satellite's outer shell flickered, revealing its true components. "We've learned more from studying their warning messages than they intended," Tanaka continued. "Their quantum-based technologies are advanced, but they rely entirely on predictable patterns. So we've developed systems that appear primitive, but can adapt and evolve in ways their predictive models can't anticipate." Commander Paddle entered the facility, bringing new intelligence. "The Concordat's quarantine line is fully established, but we've detected gaps in their coverage. They're so confident in their technological superiority that they haven't considered we might be able to see through their cloaking systems." "How?" Chen asked, genuinely curious. "They hide their ships using quantum phase shifting, but they forget that sometimes the absence of something is as telling as its presence. Our primitive radar systems detect shadows where there should be stars. Their advanced technology blinds them to basic principles." The facility's main display activated, showing a new transmission intercepted from the edge of the solar system. The Symmetrists and Quantum Collective were moving their forces closer to the quarantine line, each trying to establish strategic positions without triggering direct conflict. "They're playing chess," Patil observed, "but they're playing it according to rules established by the Concordat, rules designed to make warfare predictable and controllable." "And we're about to flip the board," Chen added, studying the tactical display. "How many satellites are ready?" 30, Tanaka replied, all appearing to be standard communication and defense platforms. The Concordat will detect their launch, but their scans will show exactly what they expect to see. Chen nodded, remembering the ancient stories of the Trojan horse. Sometimes the best way to bypass superior defenses was to look exactly like what your enemy expected. Begin the launches, space them out naturally, make it look like routine orbital defense expansion. The ground beneath them trembled as the first satellite began its ascent. To any observer, it would appear to be a primitive human attempt at building a defensive network. None would suspect that each satellite contained systems that could adapt and evolve in ways that defied the very mathematical principles the Concordat relied upon. Update from Dr. Rivera's team. Paddle reported. They've made progress decrypting the direct communications protocols used by the Symmetrists and Quantum Collective. We might be able to establish contact within weeks. Good, Chen replied. But we need to be careful. The moment we make contact, the Concordat will know. We need all our pieces in place first. She turned to Tanaka. How are the other projects progressing? The scientist led them to a secure chamber deep within the facility. Inside, rows of what appeared to be standard military equipment lined the walls. Body armor that looked conventional but could adapt its structure on a molecular level. Weapons that combined simple ballistic principles with quantum reactive materials. We're not trying to match their technology, Tanaka explained. We're creating systems that can evolve during combat, that can learn and adapt in ways their predictive models can't foresee. They expect us to either use primitive weapons or attempt to copy their advanced technology. We're doing neither. We're being human, Chen said, picking up one of the hybrid weapons. Taking what works, adapting it, combining it in ways they'd never expect. A junior officer rushed into the chamber. Director, we've detected unusual energy signatures from the Quantum Collective's fleet. They're probing the quarantine line, looking for weaknesses. Chen smiled. They're as curious about us as we are about them. The Concordat's attempt to keep us separated is only making both sides more interested in each other. She turned to her team. Accelerate the satellite launches. Begin deploying the hybrid defense systems. But most importantly, maintain our appearance of primitive compliance. Let the Concordat think their quarantine is working. As they moved to carry out her orders, Chen studied the tactical display showing the growing tension between the Symmetrists and Quantum Collective. The Concordat had spent millennia containing and controlling galactic conflicts. They saw warfare as an equation to be solved, a pattern to be predicted and managed. But humanity had never played by those rules. They had evolved through unpredictability, through finding ways to win even when victory seemed mathematically impossible. And now, in the shadows of their seemingly primitive technology, they were preparing to demonstrate that creativity to the galaxy. The only question was, when the moment came to reveal their true capabilities, would they serve as a match that ignited a greater conflict, or as a force that could reshape the very nature of galactic warfare? Either way, humanity was about to prove why the Concordat had been right to fear them, just not for the reasons they thought. The moment that would reshape galactic warfare began not with a bang, but with a silence. The Concordat's quarantine sensors went dark for precisely 3.8 seconds, a glitch so brief their predictive models classified it as a routine fluctuation. They never realized it was humanity's first move. Director Chen stood in the UEDC's primary command center, watching as their carefully orchestrated plan unfolded. Status of the hybrid satellites. All 30 units have completed their quantum phase shift, Commander Paddle reported. The Concordat sensors now read them as simple communication relays. They haven't detected the adaptive cores. Dr. Rivera's voice came through the command channel. Director, we've established contact with both the Symmetrists and Quantum Collective. They're intrigued by our transmission method. Chen smiled. They had used the most basic radio waves to carry quantum-encoded messages, a combination so primitive and advanced that it had slipped right through the Concordat's sophisticated filtering systems. What's their response? The Symmetrists are analyzing our mathematical proofs, showing the Concordat's manipulation of galactic conflicts. The Quantum Collective is. Rivera paused. They're laughing. They say we're the first species they've encountered who thinks like them. Alerts flashed across the command screens. The Concordat had detected the communications, just as planned. Their response was immediate. A fleet of peacekeeping vessels converging on Earth's solar system. Right on schedule, Chen noted. Deploy Phase 2. Across the solar system, humanity's seemingly primitive defense satellites began their transformation. The adaptive cores activated, each unit evolving in a unique and unpredictable way. Some developed quantum shields that operated on randomized frequencies. Others generated gravitational distortions using principles the Concordat had dismissed as technically impossible. Concordat fleet is decelerating, Patil announced. Their scans are showing contradictory readings. Their predictive models are failing to classify our defense grid. The main screen displayed the approaching Concordat vessels, massive ships that represented the peak of controlled, predictable technological advancement. They had expected to find a primitive civilization, playing with forces beyond their understanding. Instead, they found their sensors confused by defense systems that seemed to operate on principles that defied their fundamental understanding of warfare. Incoming transmission from the Concordat flagship, Rivera reported. They're demanding we explain ourselves. Chen took a deep breath. This was the moment they had prepared for. Put them through. The image of High Marshal Ven of the Concordat appeared, a being of crystalline structure that radiated ancient authority. Earth forces, you have violated our quarantine and corrupted our peace protocols. Explain your actions or face immediate containment. Chen stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. High Marshal, we reviewed your peaceful intentions and found them lacking. Your containment of our civilization was never about preventing conflict. It was about preventing change. She gestured, and the tactical display showed the positions of the Symmetrist and Quantum collective fleets, now moving to flank the Concordat forces. We've shared our analysis with others who question your methods of maintaining peace through forced stagnation. You cannot comprehend the complexities of galactic stability, Ven declared, but there was uncertainty in their crystalline features. Your unpredictable nature is exactly what the galaxy needs. Chen interrupted. You've maintained peace by making warfare predictable, by containing species that think differently. But in doing so, you've made the galaxy vulnerable to any force that doesn't play by your rules. The hybrid satellites continued their evolution, each developing unique characteristics that confused and concerned the Concordat sensors. Some seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Others operated on principles that their advanced civilization had deemed theoretically impossible. What are you? Ven demanded, their crystalline form flickering with agitation. We are human, Chen replied simply. We don't follow your patterns. We don't play by your rules. And we've just proved that your most advanced quarantine systems can be defeated by combining technologies you considered primitive with principles you never thought to try. The tactical display updated, showing more Symmetrist and Quantum collective ships arriving. They had recognized in humanity something they had never found in the Concordat: the ability to think beyond established patterns, to combine the old and new in ways that defy prediction. You have a choice, High Marshal, Chen continued. You can attempt to contain us, starting a conflict that will demonstrate just how unpredictable humanity can be. Or you can accept that the galaxy is changing. The era of controlled, predictable warfare is over. The command center fell silent as they waited for the Concordat's response. Their hybrid defense grid continued its random evolution, each satellite becoming something unique and unprecedented. They had proved that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to think in ways that the most advanced civilizations had forgotten was possible. The galaxy was about to change, one way or another. And humanity, the species that had evolved through unpredictability, was going to lead that change. The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly on Neutral Station hummed with an energy it hadn't known in millennia. Representatives from the Concordat, the Symmetrists, and a Quantum collective gathered around a circular table with humanity, represented by Director Chen, sitting at a position that would have been unthinkable just months ago. High Marshal Ven's crystalline form shimmered with barely contained agitation. You fundamentally misunderstand the purpose of our systems. The patterns we established prevented countless wars, saved billions of lives. by stifling evolution. Chen interrupted, her voice carrying across the chamber. By containing any civilization that thought differently. But your system was already failing before we arrived. She gestured to the symmetrists and quantum collective. These civilizations emerged despite your containment protocols. They proved that the galaxy was ready for change. The symmetrist ambassador, a being of pure geometric precision, spoke next. The humans revealed to us how the Concordat had been manipulating conflict resolution protocols. Their analysis showed patterns we had never considered. Because they think wrong. A Concordat elder protested. Their military strategies defy logical progression. Their technology combines principles that should be incompatible. They introduce chaos into ordered systems. The quantum collective's representative, a shifting cloud of possibility, pulsed with what seemed like amusement. They think as we do, seeing possibility and probability, finding paths through chaos. But they do so in ways even we had not imagined, combining primitive ballistics with quantum mechanics, using basic radio waves to carry complex quantum-encoded messages. These are not the actions of a species that thinks wrong. These are the actions of a species that thinks beyond limitations. Director Chen stood, activating a holographic display that showed the hybrid defense network Earth had created. We didn't defeat your quarantine through superior technology. We defeated it by thinking in ways your predictive models couldn't comprehend. And that's exactly why the galaxy needs change. The display shifted to show conflicts throughout galactic history, all following the same patterns, all resolved through the same protocols. Your system of controlled warfare worked when every civilization fought the same way. But the galaxy is evolving. The symmetrists and quantum collective proved that new ways of thinking can emerge. Humanity proved that old and new methods can be combined in unprecedented ways. And what do you propose? Ven demanded. That we abandon millennia of stable protocols. That we allow chaos to reign. No, Chen replied, her voice softening. We propose adaptation. Evolution. The Concordat's greatest strength was its ability to maintain peace, but your greatest weakness was assuming that peace could only be maintained through control and prediction. She gestured, and a holographic display showed Earth's new hybrid technologies. We've proved that unpredictability can be a strength, that combining different ways of thinking can lead to innovation rather than chaos. We're not here to destroy your system. We're here to help it evolve. The quantum collective representative shifted closer. The humans speak truth. We joined their coalition not because they offered superior technology, but because they showed us new ways to use our existing capabilities. They think differently, yes, but they also understand how to bridge different ways of thinking. The symmetrist ambassador's geometric form pulsed in agreement. Their mathematical proofs demonstrated how perfect symmetry can exist within apparent chaos. They understand both order and randomness. High Marshal Ven was silent for a long moment, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. And if we refuse, if we maintain that your unpredictable nature poses too great a risk? Chen's response was calm but firm. Then you'll face a galaxy that's already changing, armed with protocols designed for a reality that no longer exists. The symmetrists and quantum collective have already embraced new ways of thinking. Earth has proved that your containment systems can be defeated. You can either help guide this evolution, or you can be left behind by it. The chamber fell silent as the weight of the moment settled over the assembled representatives. Humanity had done more than just break free of containment. They had demonstrated that the very foundations of galactic civilization needed to change. Finally, Ven spoke. Perhaps there is wisdom in adaptation. But such changes must be managed, controlled. Guided, Chen corrected gently. Not controlled. The galaxy doesn't need a force that contains change. It needs one that helps civilizations adapt to it. That's what we're offering. Not chaos, but a new way of maintaining peace. One that embraces different ways of thinking instead of fearing them. As the negotiations continued, Chen couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Concordat had tried to contain humanity because they feared their unpredictable nature. Instead, they had forced humanity to demonstrate exactly why that unpredictability was necessary for the galaxy's survival. The age of controlled, predictable warfare was over. In its place would rise something new, a system that recognized strength in diversity of thought, that saw opportunity in unpredictability, that understood that true peace came not from containing change, but from learning to adapt to it. And humanity, the species that had evolved through chaos and emerged stronger, would help guide the galaxy into this new era. Not because they were the most advanced or the most powerful, but because they understood something the Concordat had forgotten. The most powerful force in the universe wasn't technology or weapons or even predictability. It was the ability to think differently, to adapt, to find new solutions to old problems. And in teaching this lesson to the galaxy, humanity had finally found its place among the stars.